Imagine putting yourself in the shoes of Washington Nationals GM Mike Rizzo approximately 3 years ago or so, where he had to make the most important decision of his career at that point as an acting GM for the Nationals, a decision that would ultimately change the landscape of the future for every Washington National fan and the franchise itself. And that was by parting ways with their generational talent in Juan Soto after he denied over $400 million contract extension to try to stay long-term there in DC. But Mike wasn't just going to send him anywhere. He obviously wanted him far away from the NL East, and we'll get into how that obviously has come full circle since then. So he gets dealt there to stay in the National League, but this time to the NL West, because there is one team and one man who was very hungry to give up the entire farm, and that was Mr. AJ Preller. AJ Preller and the late Peter Seidler were adamant, obviously, on trying to get moves going, trying to make this Padres team great, especially while Seidler still had time left on this earth. Because of that reason, we saw a blockbuster trade, including the following pieces there going the Nationals' way from San Diego, starting with Robert Hassel, who's still trying to figure out himself, Mackenzie Gore, who's established himself as a very young, exciting southpaw option in that rotation for the Nats, CJ Abrams, who already looks like one of the best shortstop options out of any team across Major League Baseball, especially the National League, but most notably here, it's James Wood, because not only is James Wood off to a roaring hot start for his MLB career, not only is he just good, but he's great, he's brilliant, and he's looking like a true superstar that's just getting his career started, that is going to be at an MVP level sooner rather than later, if not already, that's having Washington Nationals fans already forgetting Juan Soto's name. Yes, everybody, James Wood is absolutely fantastic, and he deserves the recognition because he is a guy that's going to absolutely torment guys like myself as a Mets fan, and the fans of many there in the NL East, and it's going to be just getting started here. But let me take you back to how this all started with James Wood, because obviously he was one of the key multiple pieces there to go to the Washington Nationals, and it's absolutely insane to see that after all these years later, not only is James Wood blossoming the way that he is, but he's blossoming while Juan Soto is back in the NL East for the next 15 years at minimum, more than likely. So what about Wood has really separated himself from the rest? Well, let's get into his MLB debut there beginning in the 2024 season. Across just around a half-season sample size of 79 games to be exact, James Wood in his first year, mind you, as just a 21-year-old. So talk about a heralded prospect. Yeah, there's a lot of hype, and for a great reason there for the towering left-handed bat. 79 games, 9 home runs, 43 runs scored, 41 RBIs, and 14 stolen bases. So not only can Wood absolutely tear the cover off the ball, but he can steal some bags too without a problem in a limited sample size. For context, in a normal 162, Wood was on pace to have a 20 home run, 80 plus RBI season, and around 30 stolen bases. Pretty darn good for a 21-year-old if you ask me. Then you add in the 264 batting average, the 354 on base, and the 427 slug for already 20% above league average per Fangraphs' weighted runs created plus. And for those that don't know what that means, I'm going to simplify this. If it's above 100, that means you're above league average. If you're below 100, that means you're below league average there as a batter. So already 20% above league average, and your age 21 season rather, is going to have a lot of Nationals fans giddy and excited about the future, understandably so. Setting the stage now for the 2025 season, in which James Wood is doing things that are simply not only jaw-dropping, but are towards the top of the list, where we're looking at the best players in today's game, especially at his age group. So far this season alone, James Wood, in just 49 games, has 12 home runs, 30 RBIs, 30 runs scored, 7 stolen bags for a 285 average, a 380 on base, a 538 slug, and we're looking at a whopping 54 on the weighted runs created plus. So 154, meaning he's 54% above league average as a batter. But it doesn't just stop there, everybody. James Wood, again, has found himself more in a class of his own. When we take a look at how James Wood has fared versus other players, especially at his age, going back to age 22 or younger there, with a sample size of at least 120 games and at least an OPS plus of 130, he is right at the top. In 128 games at the time of recording this video to begin his career is at 135. This is a list that also includes great players like Corbin Carroll, Julio Rodriguez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto, Cody Bellinger, Carlos Correa, and the list goes on from there. If you go down further, you even see the greats and Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Giancarlo Stanton, David Wright, who I appreciate a lot as a Mets fan, Miggy Cabrera, Albert Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr., Darryl Strawberry, Eddie Murray. I mean, oh my goodness gracious, when you go farther and farther down this list, you realize just how elite it is. And James Wood is already in an echelon where he's pretty much in a class by himself and other elite batters that we've seen from the age of 22 or younger with those specific numbers that I alluded to. And staying on the age of 22, especially everybody, taking a look at what he has done as well, I mean, it is absolutely jaw-dropping the class that he has found himself in, because not only is James Wood doing these things at the age of 22, but he's also doing these things, especially for a guy that is in a class right now of at least a 150 OPS plus there that we're seeing at age 22 or younger. James Wood has a 158 OPS plus, and that's pretty much the same stat as weighted runs created plus. It's basically your preference from Fangraphs there to Baseball Reference. I utilize them pretty much both the same, and that is out of just under 50 games so far this season. James Wood is the first batter in 4 years to put up these numbers at his age over this sample size. The last time a batter had a 150 OPS plus or higher at the age of 22 or younger was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at 167 back in the 2021 season that we saw. Juan Soto was in that category with a 175 OPS plus in 2021. So was Fernando Tatis Jr. at a 166, and Ronald Acuna Jr. in the limited sample size in the 2020 shortened season at a 156. Bryce Harper, Mike Trout on multiple times. We saw Mike Trout in 2014, 2013, and 2012 because he was so elite there starting from the young age of 20. Miggy Cabrera, Albert Pujols, A-Rod, Ken Griffey Jr., Ricky Henderson, may he rest in power. Oh my goodness gracious. Again, the list goes on from here. I'm looking right now at a list out of 1 out of 35 batters that have had this accolade at this age over this period of time, over this stretch rather, and James Wood is right up there at the tippity top of the list. It is absolutely insane that he has managed to do this, and the sample size that he has been as consistent as he's been to begin the 2025 regular season. But it doesn't just stop there. It gets even better because James Wood is clearly tearing the cover off the baseball. I cannot state enough just how elite the 6'7", 200 roughly 40 pounder has been batting from that left side of the plate that we have seen. He's already in the 93rd percentile in batting run value so far this season. He's 76th in base running value. He's 24th in fielding run value, but that's okay because we don't need him to be elite necessarily every single time that he's being a fielder there. XWOBA 91st percentile, expected batting average 71st percentile, expected slugging 93rd, average exit velocity 93rd, barrel percentage 94th, and hard hit percentage 97th, 94th in bat speed, 85th in walk percentage, 76th in chase percentage. The whiff rate has more work to do as he's below league average there and with his sweet spot percentage, but needless to say, when it comes to the hitting alone, at the young age of 22, James Wood is doing jaw-dropping things, and he's only getting started. That's the biggest emphasis behind this all. When you think of Mike Rizzo, especially going back to him for a minute, you absolutely have to try to start considering inking a guy in James Wood on a long-term deal, potentially trying to buy out those pre-arb years, just like what we saw Ronald Acuna Jr. and Ozzie Albies do there when they signed their contracts prematurely there with the Atlanta Braves. Why not do the exact same thing as a fellow rival there in the division if you're Mike Rizzo? Because between himself and CJ Abrams, this is a true core that's going to build as something great for the Nationals, potentially as soon as this year, should they crack playoffs, potentially in the wild card, or certainly in the years going forward. It is only up and up for here. And staying on the topic of just this season alone, we're talking about all Major League Baseball players of eligibility, not just for for guys that are at the age of 22 or younger. No, everyone in today's game. He currently ranks, that being James Wood, 19th in all Major League Baseball with a 1.8 WAR. He also is 16th across all eligible batters in Major League Baseball currently, regardless of your age. You could be 40, you could be 20, it doesn't matter. And he's got a 154 WRC plus, which is about the same as OPS plus, so 54% again above league average as a batter. And you mean to tell me that this is only just the beginning of a career for James Wood? I'm not only taken back an opposing fan, I'm definitely nervous to see just how good James Wood is going to become. But talk about a full circle story yet again. Juan Soto is back in the NL East, and Juan Soto isn't even performing necessarily as well consistently as what the young 22-year-old James Wood is doing right now for the Washington Nationals and their fans. So on one hand, does every National fan have a right to be initially upset about the Juan Soto trade when it first happened? No doubt about it. But can you also be very happy with how things have already he aged greatly, not like milk, but rather a fine wine, just over the past 3 years alone with these guys making their debut. And while yes, the future is uncertain, nothing is a guarantee, but what feels like a guarantee as long as this man can stay healthy is that James Wood might just become the next true phenom out of the National League, not just as a superstar, but as a guy that could find himself truly in the MVP accolades as soon again as this season. It's actually insane to fathom, and you really have to feel for Padres fans knowing you gave up such a haul for just a year and a half of Juan Soto, but Mike Rizzo and Nats fans have to be smiling cheek to cheek knowing that their future is nothing short of absolutely bright. Baseball fans, let me know your thoughts about James Wood. How impressed have you been with him so far, not just to begin the 2025 season, but in roughly 130 games to begin his career? The guy, again, is doing things that we haven't seen many other players in today's game do, and the ones that have are the absolute best players in today's game for the most part. And when you look in history, we're talking about Hall of Famers, lock Hall of Famers. So James Wood is absolutely in a great class to not only succeed, but potentially be one of the best of them all by time his career is done, if everything trends upward the way that certainly is right now. So again, guys, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching. This is our latest WardyMLB video here, presented by our friends at Stark Raven Sports. Shout out to my guy Mike as well, brilliant on the editing as always. If you guys enjoyed this content, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Help us get to 2,000 subs for our next short-term goal, as we're going to be pumping out various MLB-wide topics here on the platform every single week throughout the course of the 162. If you guys are a Mets fan like me, you can check out my work at WardyMLB, where I cover the Mets daily on YouTube to 33,000 subscribers. I also cover them to a degree there in the New York Post Sports YouTube channel and their socials as a recurring guest and contributor. And I'm a Bleacher Report host there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right around 5 p.m. Eastern for MLB-wide topics. Thank you guys again. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.